Jake Harrison sat in his tiny apartment staring at the empty coffee cup in his hands. The rent notice on his table glowed red with angry words about late payments. His job at the factory had ended 3 months ago when the machines replaced half the workers. Every day he sent out applications, but nobody wanted to hire a 30-year-old man with only basic skills and no college degree. The holographic advertisement appeared right in front of his face without warning. A beautiful woman in a blue uniform smiled at him from the glowing display. Behind her stretched views of an alien world with purple skies and crystal cities. The words floated in the air, making promises that seemed too good to be true. The Kepler 442b Colonial Initiative seeks qualified male candidates for immediate relocation. Free housing provided. Full employment guaranteed. Marriage arrangements available with compatible alien partners. No experience necessary. Transportation included. Jake waved his hand through the hologram, but it stayed there. He read the message again. Free housing sounded amazing when he could barely afford his current tiny room. Full employment meant he would never have to worry about finding work again. But marriage arrangements with aliens made his stomach twist with nervous energy. The hologram shifted to show more details. A serious-looking officer appeared and began speaking. I am Lieutenant Commander Lisa Torres of the Colonial Authority. Earth has formed an alliance with 2 alien species on Kepler 442. Zephyrians and Korathi have requested human males to join their colony. These species have studied our culture and found humans to be highly compatible partners. Jake leaned forward to listen more carefully. The officer continued explaining that both alien species had societies where females chose their mates. They had specifically asked for human men after watching Earth broadcasts and learning about human relationships and family structures. The colony needed genetic diversity and cultural exchange to grow stronger. Selected candidates will receive a fully furnished home upon arrival. Each man will be introduced to 2 potential alien brides who have volunteered for the cultural exchange program. The marriage arrangements are designed to benefit all parties involved. The advertisement ended with instructions to report to the recruitment center downtown within 48 hours. Jake stared at the empty air where the hologram had been. His first thought was that this had to be some kind of scam or joke, but the official seals and government logos looked real enough. He spent the next day researching everything he could find about the Colonial Initiative. The news reports were all positive. Scientists praised the breakthrough in interspecies cooperation. Economists predicted huge benefits from alien technology trade. Social experts discussed how the program could help solve Earth's overpopulation and unemployment problems. Jake arrived at the recruitment center early the next morning. A long line of men waited outside the building. Some looked desperate like him, while others seemed excited about the adventure. A few appeared nervous and kept checking their phones as if they might change their minds. Inside the building, Jake met Sam Rodriguez and Alex Chun while they waited in another line. Sam was a former auto mechanic whose job had been eliminated by self-repairing cars. Alex had left the military after his unit was replaced by combat robots. All 3 men were in similar situations with few options left on Earth. You really thinking about marrying aliens? Sam asked in a whisper. Got anything better waiting for me here? Jake replied. Alex nodded in agreement. I've been to 43 countries during my service. Meeting new people is just part of life. These aliens can't be any stranger than some humans I've known. When Jake's turn came, he sat across from Lieutenant Commander Torres in a small office. She looked exactly like the woman from the hologram, but seemed more tired in person. Her desk was covered with files, and her computer screen showed a long list of applicant names. Tell me about yourself, Mr. Harrison, she said while reading his file. Jake explained his work history and current situation. He mentioned his basic electrical training and his ability to fix most household problems. Torres made notes and asked about his family situation. Jake told her he had no close relatives and no romantic attachments keeping him on Earth. The colony life will be very different from anything you've experienced, Torres explained. You'll be living with 2 alien species who have their own customs and languages. The Zephyrians are tall and elegant with advanced scientific knowledge. The Korathi are shorter but incredibly skilled with technology. Both species are peaceful and have been allies for centuries. She showed him pictures of the alien beings. The Zephyrians had silver blue skin and long, graceful limbs. Their eyes were large and seemed to change color. The Korathi had golden skin and 4 arms that ended in delicate hands. Both species looked humanoid enough that Jake could imagine living alongside them. The marriage arrangements are not forced, Torres continued. You'll meet your potential brides and spend time getting to know them. If all parties agree, then you can proceed with the ceremony. If not, then you'll still have your home and job in the colony. Jake asked about the journey and what to expect upon arrival. Torres explained that the trip would take 2 years in cryosleep. The colonists would wake up in orbit around Kepler 442b and then be transported down to the surface. Each man would receive orientation training and language lessons before meeting his assigned potential brides. The aliens are very curious about human culture, Torres said. They want to learn about our emotions, our family structures, and our ways of solving problems. In return, they'll teach you about their advanced technologies and scientific knowledge. Jake signed the contract that afternoon. The legal documents were thick and complex, but the basic terms were simple. He would commit to living in the colony for at least 5 years. In return, he would receive housing, employment, and the chance to build a new life with alien partners. The departure date was set for 3 weeks later. Jake spent the time selling his few possessions and saying goodbye to the handful of friends he had left. Most people thought he was crazy, but a few admitted they were jealous of his opportunity to start over on the morning of departure. Jake stood with 49 other men at the spaceport. The transport ship called the UES New Horizon stretched out in front of them like a metal mountain. Sam and Alex were both there, along with men of all ages and backgrounds. Some looked confident while others seemed ready to run away. As they boarded the ship, Jake felt a mixture of excitement and terror. He was leaving behind everything he had ever known for a chance at a completely different life. The promise of a home and family waited for him on an alien world millions of miles away. Whether that promise would turn out to be a dream or a nightmare remained to be seen. Jake opened his eyes to a gentle humming sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The cryosleep pod around him was opening with a soft hiss of air. His body felt stiff and strange, like he had been sleeping for a very long time. The memory of signing up for the colony program came flooding back as he sat up slowly. A voice spoke in perfect English from speakers hidden in the walls. Welcome to Kepler 442b orbit. Please remain calm as your body adjusts to being awake. Medical staff will assist you shortly. Through a small window, Jake could see a beautiful blue and green world spinning slowly below them. 2 small moons hung in the black space nearby. The planet looked almost like Earth, but the colors were slightly different. The blues were deeper, and the greens had hints of silver that sparkled in the sunlight. Sam and Alex were waking up in pods nearby. Sam was groaning and holding his head while Alex sat up looking alert despite having just ended 2 years of artificial sleep. Other men throughout the large room were also stirring as their pods opened one by one. A tall figure in a white medical coat approached Jake's pod. The being was clearly not human. She had silver blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the ship's lighting. Her eyes were large and currently showed swirls of green and blue colors. Her movements were so graceful that she seemed to glide rather than walk. I am Dr. Valandra of the medical staff, she said in a voice like gentle music. How are you feeling, Jake Harrison? Jake was surprised she knew his name and spoke English so well. I feel okay, I think, a little confused and sore. That is normal after extended cryosleep. Your body needs time to remember how to function properly. Please drink this slowly. She handed him a cup filled with liquid that tasted like fruit juice mixed with something he could not identify. The drink made him feel much better almost immediately. His headache faded and his muscles stopped aching. Is this my first time meeting a Zephyrian? Jake asked. Dr. Valandra smiled, and her eyes shifted to show more yellow mixed with the blue and green. Yes, I hope it is a pleasant experience for you. We have been very excited to meet the human colonists. Over the next few hours, Jake and the other men were given medical checkups and briefings about what to expect on the planet's surface. The colony was called New Haven, and it housed about 50,000 beings from 3 different species. The architecture was designed to accommodate everyone's needs while blending different cultural styles. Jake learned that he had been assigned to District 7, which was considered one of the most diverse areas of the colony. His liaison would be a Zephyrian administrator named Zarathul, who would help him adjust to his new life and prepare him to meet his potential brides. The shuttle ride down to the planet's surface was smooth and quiet. Jake pressed his face to the window, watching the landscape pass below. The colony spread across a wide valley between rolling hills covered in strange trees with silver leaves. Crystal towers rose up beside dome-shaped buildings connected by bridges that seemed to float in the air without any visible support. The landing pad was busy with activity. Beings of all 3 species moved around carrying supplies and equipment. Jake saw his first Korathi workers unloading cargo with their 4 arms moving in perfect coordination. Their golden skin caught the sunlight and seemed to glow with inner warmth. Zarathul met Jake at the shuttle exit. She was even more impressive than Dr. Valandra. Her silver hair flowed like liquid metal and her eyes showed calm purple colors. She wore robes that changed color as she moved, making her look like a living piece of art. "Welcome to New Haven, Jake Harrison," she said, while making a gesture with her hands that seemed to be a greeting. "I am honored to be your guide in this new world." Jake tried to copy her hand gesture but felt clumsy and awkward. Zarathul smiled and her eyes shifted to show warmer colors. "Do not worry about getting everything perfect immediately. Learning new customs takes time and practice." She led him through the colony streets toward District 7. The buildings around them were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Some appeared to be grown rather than built, with organic curves and surfaces that pulsed gently. Others were made of crystals that rang like bells when the wind touched them. Human-style structures mixed in with the alien architecture, creating a unique blend of familiar and strange. "Your home is designed to accommodate human needs while incorporating some of our technological advances," Zarathul explained as they walked. "The walls can change color and opacity based on your preferences. The furniture can reshape itself for comfort. The temperature and lighting adjust automatically to your biological requirements." Jake's new home was a 2-story building with a small garden in front. The outside looked like a normal Earth house, but made of materials that seemed to shift between metal and stone depending on the viewing angle. Inside, the rooms were spacious and comfortable with furniture that looked human but felt different when he touched it. "The most important thing for you to understand," Zarathul said while showing him around, "is that you are not just here to find wives. You are here to be a bridge between our cultures. Your potential brides want to learn about human emotions and ways of thinking. In return, they will teach you about Zephyrian science and Korathi technology." Jake nodded but felt overwhelmed by the responsibility. What if I'm not good at being a cultural bridge? What if I disappoint them? "Humans are naturally good at adapting and connecting with others," Zarathul replied. "That is why we requested your species specifically. You have something we lack, the ability to form emotional bonds quickly and deeply." The next morning, Jake met his potential brides for the first time. The meeting took place in a beautiful garden filled with plants from all 3 homeworlds. Laronel arrived first, walking with the same graceful movements as all Zephyrians. She was nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that reflected light like a mirror. Her eyes showed curiosity and nervousness in swirling patterns of blue and silver. "I am Laronel, specialist in terraforming science," she said while making the formal greeting gesture. "I have studied Earth's climate systems and find them fascinating." Jake felt very small standing next to her, but her voice was gentle and kind. "I'm Jake. I used to work with electrical systems, but I'm not very educated about science." "Knowledge comes in many forms," Laronel replied. "I am eager to learn about human intuition and problem-solving methods." Kasara arrived a few minutes later. She was closer to Jake's height, but her 4 arms made her presence feel much larger. Her golden skin had intricate patterns that seemed to move slowly across her surface. Her eyes were deep brown and showed intelligence and humor. "I am Kisara, Master of Engineering Systems," she said, while her four hands made different gestures simultaneously. "I have built many of the machines that keep this colony running." Jake was fascinated watching her hands move independently. "How do you control all four arms at once?" "The same way you control your two arms," Kisara replied with what might have been a smile. "Practice and instinct. I am curious about human creativity in building things." The three of them spent the morning walking through the garden and talking. Laronel asked many questions about Earth's weather patterns and how humans adapted to different climates. Kisara wanted to know about human tools and machines and seemed impressed by Jake's electrical knowledge. Jake found himself relaxing as the conversation continued. Both aliens were clearly intelligent and kind. They seemed genuinely interested in learning about human culture rather than just finding a husband. The arrangement was starting to feel less like a business transaction and more like the beginning of real friendships. By the end of the day, Jake realized that his new life was going to be more complex and interesting than he had ever imagined. He was not just moving to a new planet, but becoming part of a grand experiment in bringing different species together. The success or failure of that experiment might depend on how well he could learn to build bridges between very different ways of thinking and living. 3 months had passed since Jake first arrived at New Haven, and his life had changed in ways he never expected. Every morning he woke up in his strange house that adjusted itself to his needs. The walls changed color based on his mood, and the furniture shifted to make him comfortable without him having to ask. It still felt like magic, even though Zarathil had explained the technology several times. His relationship with Laronel had grown stronger each day. She would visit him in the evenings to discuss her work on the terraforming project. Jake learned that keeping the planet's atmosphere stable required constant monitoring and adjustment. The delicate balance between oxygen and other gases had to be maintained perfectly, or the whole colony would die. "Your people have a saying about not putting all eggs in one basket," Laronel said one evening as they watched the twin moons rise over the crystal towers. "This is very wise. We Zephyrians tend to focus on perfect solutions, but humans understand the value of backup plans." Jake felt proud that his simple Earth knowledge could help someone so intelligent. "My dad always said that anything that can go wrong will go wrong eventually. Better to be ready for problems than surprised by them." Laronel's eyes showed colors Jake had learned meant deep thought. "This is why our species needs human partners. We think in straight lines while you think in circles that connect back to each other." Kisara had been harder to get to know at first. Her forearms never stopped moving, and she talked very fast about technical subjects Jake barely understood. But slowly he began to appreciate her sense of humor and her incredible skill at building things. She could take apart any machine and put it back together better than before. "Watch this," she said one afternoon in her workshop. Her four hands moved independently to work on a small device while she talked to Jake. This communication unit was designed by committee. 3 different species all added their ideas until it became too complicated to work properly. Jake watched in amazement as she stripped away unnecessary parts and rewired the circuits. "How do you know what to remove?" "Human principle," Kisara replied with a grin. "Keep it simple. Your people make things that work even when they break a little." Very smart approach. The marriage ceremony had been scheduled for the following month. Jake was nervous but also excited about officially joining his life with both alien women. The customs required him to learn special vows in both Zephyrian and Korathi languages. The words were difficult to pronounce, but the meaning was beautiful. He would promise to be a bridge between their worlds, and they would promise to help him grow beyond his human limitations, but not everything in the colony was going smoothly. A group of human men led by Carl Weber had been causing problems from the beginning. Weber was a former business manager who expected the colony to work like a human corporation. He complained constantly about the alien customs and demanded that humans be given special treatment. "We're the minority here," Weber said during one of his frequent meetings in the colony's central plaza. They're using us for our genetic material and our labor. We need to stick together and demand better conditions. Jake had tried to ignore Weber's speeches, but they were becoming more frequent and more angry. Some of the other human colonists were starting to listen and agree. Sam Rodriguez had attended a few meetings and came back with disturbing ideas about human superiority. "Maybe Weber has a point," Sam said after his third meeting. "My Karathi bride keeps trying to improve everything. I do. She acts like human methods are primitive and need to be upgraded." Jake shook his head. "Viltana is trying to help you learn new skills. That's different from thinking you're primitive." "Is it though?" Sam asked. "Sometimes I feel like a pet, being trained to do tricks." Alex Chin had the opposite problem. He was adapting so well to alien culture that other humans accused him of forgetting his humanity. His language skills were already better than most colonists, and he had been invited to join the colony's Security Council. Some humans thought he was getting special treatment because of his military background. The tension came to a head when Weber's group discovered that the colony's governing council was planning to invite more alien species to join New Haven. The Drachneri were an insect-like species known for their mathematical abilities. The Thivarians were plant-based beings who could help expand the colony's agricultural systems. "They're going to keep adding aliens until humans are completely outnumbered," Weber announced at his largest meeting yet. "We need to take action before it's too late." Jake attended the meeting to see what Weber was planning. About 20 human men had gathered in an abandoned warehouse in District 3. The mood was angry and desperate. Some men talked about demanding their own human-only district. Others wanted to renegotiate the marriage contracts to give humans more power in their relationships. "The aliens promised us homes and wives," Weber said while pacing back and forth. "They didn't mention that we would become research subjects in their grand experiment. We're being studied and cataloged like animals in a zoo." Jake stood up to speak. "That's not true, Carl. The aliens are learning from us just like we're learning from them. It's supposed to be equal partnership." "Equal?" Weber laughed bitterly. "Look around you, Jake. We live in their buildings, using their technology, eating their food. Everything here belongs to them. We own nothing and have no real power." "We have the power to leave if we want," Jake replied. "The contract says we can request transport back to Earth any time after the first year." "With what money?" Weber asked. "Using what skills? We've been away from Earth for over 2 years. By the time we get back, everything will have changed even more. We'll be even more unemployable than when we left." The meeting ended with Weber's group planning to petition the Colony Council for major changes to the Human Integration Program. Jake left feeling worried about where this conflict might lead. He could see both sides of the argument but believed that working together was better than fighting. That night he talked with Lorenel and Cassara about the growing tension. Both aliens seemed genuinely surprised that some humans were unhappy with the colony arrangements. "We thought humans would appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow," Lorenel said with her eyes showing confused colors. "Your species seemed so adaptable and eager for new experiences." "Most of us are," Jake replied. "But some people get scared when things change too fast." Weber's group feels like they're losing control of their lives. Cassara made a gesture with her 4 hands that Jake had learned meant deep concern. "If humans are unhappy, then the whole colony project could fail. We need human genetic diversity and cultural input to expand successfully. Maybe we need to find ways to make the humans feel more valued," Jake suggested. "Give them important jobs and real decision-making power." The next few weeks were tense as Weber's group prepared their petition. They demanded representation on the Colony Council, human-only housing districts, and the right to veto any decisions that affected human colonists. Some of their demands seemed reasonable, while others would essentially separate humans from the rest of the colony. Jake found himself caught in the middle of the growing conflict. Weber supporters accused him of being too sympathetic to the aliens. Meanwhile, some Zephyrians and Korathi began to question whether bringing humans to the colony had been a mistake. The grand experiment in interspecies cooperation was starting to look like it might fall apart before it really began. The crisis would soon force everyone to choose sides and test whether the bonds between different species could survive the pressure of fear and misunderstanding. Jake realized that his role as a bridge between cultures was about to become more important and more difficult than anyone had expected. The emergency alarm that woke Jake from sleep was unlike anything he had heard before. It was a deep thrumming sound that seemed to vibrate through his bones and make his teeth ache. His house's walls immediately shifted to bright red, and a voice spoke in 3 languages telling everyone to report to their emergency stations. Jake threw on his clothes and ran outside to find the streets filled with worried beings from all 3 species. Zarathil appeared at his door looking more concerned than he had ever seen her. Her eyes showed rapid flashes of orange and red colors that meant extreme alarm. "A massive solar storm is approaching the planet," she said quickly. "Our atmospheric processors cannot handle this type of radiation. If we cannot adapt the shields within 72 hours, the entire colony will be destroyed." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How bad is it?" "Complete atmospheric failure," Zarathil replied. "Every living thing on the planet will die, including the 50,000 colonists and all the terraforming work of the past century." The colony's emergency center was chaos when Jake arrived. Scientists and engineers from all 3 species worked frantically at computer terminals showing images of the approaching storm. The readings were beyond anything Jake could understand, but the fear on everyone's faces was clear enough. Liranel found him in the crowd and quickly explained the situation. "This type of solar radiation is specific to your Earth's sun. Our technology was designed for different kinds of star activity. The storm will strip away our protective atmosphere faster than we can replace it." Jake looked at the displays showing the swirling mass of energy racing toward their planet. "What about the shield generators? Can't they be modified?" "That is what we are trying to determine," Liranel said. "But our shield technology works on principles that may not be compatible with this radiation type." Kessara appeared beside them with her forearms moving in agitated patterns. "The mathematical models show complete failure of all current systems. We need a completely new approach, but there is no time to design and build new equipment." Jake stared at the displays, trying to understand what he was seeing. His electrical training from Earth seemed laughably simple compared to the advanced alien technology surrounding him. But something about the energy patterns looked familiar. "On Earth we had problems with solar storms too," Jake said slowly. "They would knock out power grids and satellite communications. We learned to build redundant systems and surge protectors." Both aliens looked at him with interest. "Explain these concepts," Liranel said. Jake tried to put his thoughts into words. "Instead of having one perfect shield, we could have multiple layers that work together. If one layer fails, the others keep working. And we could build buffers that absorb extra energy and release it safely." Kessara's eyes lit up. "A hybrid approach using human redundancy concepts combined with our technology. This could work, but it would require unprecedented cooperation between all 3 species." Within hours, a plan began to take shape. Jake found himself at the center of a massive engineering project that would combine human practical thinking with Zephian and scientific precision and Korathi technical skill. The idea was to create a new type of shield array that could adapt to the changing radiation patterns. Sam Rodriguez proved invaluable despite his recent doubts about the colony. His mechanical skills were needed to modify the physical components of the shield generators. Alex Chin's military experience helped coordinate the complex logistics of the project. Even Carl Weber and his supporters put aside their complaints to help with the massive undertaking. "I still think we're being used," Weber said while working alongside Jake to install new circuits. "But I'm not ready to die for my principles." Jake nodded. "We can argue about politics later. Right now, we just need to survive." The work required teams of mixed species working together in ways that had never been attempted. Jake coordinated between human electricians, Zephyrian scientists, and Korathi engineers. Each group brought different approaches to solving problems, and it took time to find ways to blend their methods. The humans contributed creativity and willingness to take risks. When the computer models showed that a particular approach might not work, the humans suggested trying it anyway to see what would happen. The aliens were more cautious and preferred to calculate everything in advance. "Your people are very brave," Lironel said during a brief break. "You attempt solutions that our models suggest have low probability of success." "Sometimes the models are wrong," Jake replied. "And sometimes you have to try things that shouldn't work because they're the only options you have." The Karathi brought incredible technical precision to the project. Kasara could build components that were exactly the right size and shape for the hybrid systems. Her 4 arms allowed her to work on multiple parts simultaneously. While maintaining perfect quality control, the Zephyrians provided the scientific knowledge needed to understand how the new systems would interact with the planet's atmosphere. Lironel worked for 36 hours straight, calculating the exact energy patterns the shields would need to handle. As the storm approached, everyone in the colony worked around the clock. Children helped carry supplies while elderly beings provided food and encouragement. The usual social divisions between species disappeared as everyone focused on the common goal of survival. Jake barely slept during the final 2 days of preparation. He moved between work sites troubleshooting problems and helping teams communicate with each other. His role as a bridge between cultures had never been more important or more difficult. "The power coupling for Sector 7 is not working," Kasara reported during one of the regular status meetings. "The human redundancy design conflicts with our energy distribution system." "Can we modify the distribution system?" Jake asked. "Not without affecting the other sectors," Lironel replied. "But perhaps we can create a buffer zone that translates between the two approaches." Jake thought about the problem. "What if we use the human method as a backup? Keep your system as primary, but have ours ready to take over if needed." The solution worked and became a pattern for other problems they encountered. Instead of forcing one approach on everyone, they found ways to let different methods work together. The hybrid shield system became a true combination of 3 different technological philosophies. With 6 hours left before the storm's arrival, the final components were installed. The massive shield array stretched across the entire colony with generators positioned on every hill and tower. The system looked like a patchwork of different technologies, but the test readings showed it might actually work. Jake stood in the central control room watching the monitors as the solar storm's leading edge reached the planet's outer atmosphere. The radiation levels began climbing rapidly, and the first layer of shields activated automatically. "First layer holding steady," Kasara reported from her position at the engineering console. "Atmospheric pressure remaining stable," Lironel added from the science station. Jake watched the human-designed backup system show green lights across the board. The redundant circuits were ready to take over if the primary systems failed. The surge protectors were absorbing excess energy and channeling it safely into the planet's electrical grid. The storm's full force hit 12 minutes later. The radiation levels spiked beyond anything the instruments could measure. The shield array flickered and several components overloaded, but the backup systems activated immediately. The hybrid design held together even as individual parts failed. For 18 hours, the storm battered the colony's defenses. The shield array adapted and adjusted constantly as different types of radiation tried to penetrate the barriers. The human redundancy systems prevented any single failure from bringing down the entire network. When the storm finally passed, Jake collapsed in his chair, feeling exhausted, but victorious. The colony had survived, and the shield array had proven that 3 different species could work together to accomplish something none of them could have achieved alone. The success changed everything in New Haven. The humans had proven their worth, not through dominance, but through cooperation. The crisis had shown that different approaches to problems could strengthen rather than weaken the community when properly combined. 6 months after the solar storm crisis, Jake woke up to the gentle sound of Lironel humming in the kitchen while Kasara worked on some new invention in the workshop. The 3 of them had officially married 2 weeks after the emergency ended. and their life together had settled into a comfortable routine that felt more natural than anything Jake had experienced on Earth. The colony had transformed in ways that surprised everyone. The marriage arrangements between humans and aliens had evolved into genuine partnerships based on love and respect rather than just genetic compatibility. Jake was no longer just a bridge between cultures, but part of a new kind of family that transcended species boundaries. "The council meeting starts in 1 hour," Lionel called from the kitchen. "Are you ready to present the expansion proposal?" Jake had been appointed to the New Haven Council as the human representative, but his role had grown beyond just speaking for his own species. The hybrid perspective that had emerged from the crisis made him uniquely qualified to help plan the colony's future growth. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jake replied while getting dressed in the formal robes that all council members wore. The garment was a blend of human, Zephyrian, and Korathi design elements that symbolized the colony's unified approach to governance. The expansion proposal was ambitious. 3 new species wanted to join New Haven after hearing about the successful integration of humans with the original alien colonists. The Drachnari were master mathematicians who could help solve complex engineering problems. The Thevarians were plant-based beings who could dramatically improve agricultural systems. The Nexari were energy manipulators who could enhance the colony's power grid. Cassara emerged from her workshop with grease stains on her golden skin and excitement in her brown eyes. "The prototype is working perfectly. With Drachnari calculations and Thevarian biological systems, we could expand food production by 300%. Jake smiled at her enthusiasm. Cassara had become the colony's chief innovation officer after her work on the Solar Storm project. Her workshop was now a meeting place where beings from all species came to share ideas and build new technologies together. The council chambers were packed with colonists eager to hear about the expansion plans. Jake took his seat between Zarathil representing the Zephyrians and Morvek representing the Korathi. The 3 of them had worked closely together since the crisis, and had developed an effective partnership in governing the colony. "The question before us today is not whether we should expand," Jake began when his turn came to speak. "The question is how we can expand while maintaining the harmony we have built together." He gestured to a display showing the proposed colony layout. "Each new species brings unique gifts but also unique challenges. The Drachnari think in pure mathematics, which might conflict with human intuition. The Thevarians communicate through chemical signals that other species cannot detect. The Nexari exist partially in energy form, which makes physical interaction difficult." The audience listened carefully as Jake explained the integration plan. Instead of forcing new species to adapt to existing systems, they would create flexible communities that could accommodate different ways of living and working. The hybrid approach that had saved them during the storm would become the model for all future expansion. Carl Weber stood up from the audience to ask a question. His relationship with the colony had improved dramatically since the crisis, when he had worked alongside aliens to save everyone's lives. "What guarantees do we have that humans won't be overwhelmed as more species join the colony?" Jake nodded, acknowledging the concern. "The same guarantee we've always had, Carl. Our value comes not from our numbers, but from our unique contributions. Humans bring creativity, adaptability, and emotional intelligence that complement what other species offer." Sam Rodriguez had also changed his attitude after the crisis. His workshop now taught mixed-species engineering techniques to colonists from all backgrounds. "I was worried about being replaced by alien technology," he said from his seat. "But working together, we've built things that none of us could have created alone." Alex Chin had been promoted to head of colony security after his success in coordinating the storm response. "The new species have been thoroughly vetted," he reported. "They are peaceful and eager to contribute to our community. Their integration will be gradual and carefully monitored." The vote was unanimous in favor of expansion. The colonists had learned that diversity made them stronger rather than weaker. Each new perspective added to the collective knowledge and capability of the community. After the meeting, Jake walked home through the busy streets of New Haven, The architecture had continued to evolve as different species added their own touches to buildings and public spaces. Human practicality, Zephyrian elegance, and Karathi precision had blended into a unique style that felt both alien and familiar. He stopped at Sam's workshop, where a group of young colonists were learning to use tools designed by multiple species. The children included humans, Zephyrians, and Karathi working together as naturally as if they had grown up in the same culture. Some of them were the first generation born in the colony, and they showed no signs of the cultural conflicts that had worried the adults. "Uncle Jake," called out Emma Chun, Alex's daughter who had been born 6 months earlier. She was learning to walk and speak in 3 languages simultaneously. Her babbling included words from all the colony's species mixed together in ways that delighted everyone who heard her. Jake picked up the little girl and marveled at how easily she accepted the diversity around her. To Emma, a 4-armed Karathi was no stranger than a tall Zephyrian or a regular human. She represented the future of the colony, where species differences would be interesting rather than threatening. At home, Jake found Larinelle working on plans for the new agricultural districts that would accommodate the Thivarian colonists. Her scientific precision had been enhanced by learning human intuitive methods for solving problems. She could now think in both straight lines and the circular patterns that humans preferred. The Thivarians will need soil that can support their root systems, she explained while showing Jake her designs. But they can also provide nutrients that will help our existing crops grow better. Kesara was building a communication device that could translate between the chemical signals used by Thivarians and the sound-based languages of other species. Her 4 arms moved independently while she talked about the technical challenges involved. "The difficult part is converting chemical information into words that have meaning for non-plant beings," she said. "But I think I can create a bridge system that works both ways." That evening, the 3 of them sat on their balcony watching the twin moons rise over the crystal spires of New Haven. Jake reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. He had come to the colony looking for a job and a home, but had found something much more valuable. "Do you ever miss Earth?" Larinelle asked while her eyes showed the calm blue colors that meant contentment. Jake considered the question carefully. "I miss some things about Earth, but I wouldn't want to go back. This is home now, even with all the challenges and conflicts," Kesara added with a smile. "Especially because of the challenges," Jake replied. "They've made us stronger and brought us closer together." The colony that had started as a desperate attempt to find husbands for alien women had evolved into something unprecedented in galactic history. New Haven had become a model for peaceful cooperation between different species. Delegations from dozens of worlds now visited to study their integration methods. Jake's role had expanded beyond being a bridge between cultures. He had become an architect of a new kind of civilization where the best qualities of many species could combine into something greater than any of them could achieve alone. The experiment in interspecies cooperation had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Looking out over the lights of the colony, Jake felt profound satisfaction with the choice he had made. The desperate man who had signed up for the colonial program no longer existed. In his place was someone who had found his true purpose in bringing different peoples together and helping them build a better future for all their children. The stars above held countless worlds with their own species and cultures. Jake knew that someday New Haven's example might help them all learn to work together instead of fighting each other. The colony that had needed men had created something far more important than a successful settlement. They had proven that peace and cooperation between different peoples was not just possible but could lead to achievements that no single species could accomplish alone.